What's up guys, Chef Dale Talde here. It's October, we are all in on fall cooking and getting down with our braises. So this dish here today is red wine and coffee braised short ribs with smashed carrots. So let's get started. It starts with getting this beautiful Dutch oven to a nice smoky temperature because we need to get a sear on these short ribs. So it starts with, let's get a little bit of oil in the pan. Let's season our short ribs aggressively. So get a lot of salt into this. So these here are boneless short ribs. They're beautiful. They have a ton of fat on them. It's what's going to keep these nice and moist. So before we get cooking, we have to get a nice, beautiful sear on these short ribs that are going to develop a lot of flavor. So, you know, when I'm building a braise, or most dishes, right, I'm looking for salty, sweet, bitter, sour. It's kind of the palate of an Asian cuisine. A balancing act of all these different flavors that, you know, kind of get onto your palate. This isn't necessarily an Asian dish, but I still love the ethos of like touching all those flavor profiles when you're making a dish. So, you know, I chose to use coffee because it adds a beautiful bitterness to this dish. And it reduces down with the red wine and the tomato paste to really make a sweet, sour, salty, bitter braising jus. And really, when you're talking about braising, right, it's all about this beautiful liquid that you create by cooking down your proteins or your vegetables in this liquid. So this is what you're looking for in your short rib, right? A nice caramelization or a Maillard reaction in your short rib. It's gonna make this feel or taste like when you have a roasted steak or a grilled steak, that beautiful crust on the outside. Now this won't texturally, because you're adding liquid, it won't be there, but you'll have that toasted or roasted meat flavor. We're gonna hit this with a little bit of salt or pepper. So it's really important you do not rush this process here. This is the building block of this entire dish, right? Creating a depth of flavor by browning off your meats. So once you've gotten all your meats nice and browned, in go all your aromatics. So onion, some celery, garlic, some thyme, and a bay leaf. All nice and toasted off. So we are gonna add whole carrots to this dish. I know it's like funky, we cut up all the vegetables, but the reason why is because these carrots, we're gonna braise down and we're gonna pull them out and use them as our starch or our vegetable component for the rest of the braise. So I want them whole so I'm not kind of fishing out pieces of carrots as we're cooking. Nice and sauteed. You can start to smell the garlic and the onions and the celery. We're gonna add tomato paste. This is gonna add great body to it. Also some umami, right? Tomato has that fifth flavor, umami. We're gonna get that nice and toasted in the bottom of this pan. Once that tomato is cooked out for a minute or two, we're gonna add some red wine. Really important for this, so you wanna reduce this red wine a little bit because you wanna cook out some of that alcohol or else it stays with the dish and it's not as a great flavor. You want the alcohol cooked out of the red wine. Now that the alcohol is removed, we're gonna go in with our Swanson's chicken broth. This is the bulk of our liquid that we use to braise our short ribs. And our Javelia coffee. Like I said, I love the balancing act of sweet, salty, bitter. So that is kind of our bitter note. And then to balance that, a touch of honey. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer. We're gonna add back our short ribs. Make sure that they are buried into here. And when I think a big mistake that some people make when they're braising is just like covering the protein with a ton of liquid. When you're braising, you want some of the protein to be peeking out of this liquid like it is here. You can see it kind of floating on top. One, when you put it into the oven, what's going to happen is it's going to continue to caramelize on top. But two, you're also diluting flavor. The more liquid you add to this, the less flavorful everything's going to be. So you want to start with about the liquid halfway up whatever protein or vegetable you're braising. We're going to get a lid on this. We're going to bring this up to a boil and then drop it down to a simmer and then get it into a 350-degree oven and braise it for about hour and a half, 2 hours, nice, low and slow. Listen, it's fall, it's October, right? It's not the fast pace of, it's not the fast-paced time. It's not time to be rushing things, right? This is slow and low cooking, so be gentle with it, be careful, and have the time. You don't want to rush this. This is not something you want to rush. But if you do, definitely don't have the time, you definitely could use something like an Instapot, right, or a pressure cooker. They'll help reduce some of the time. But I mean, I'm an old-fashioned guy. Like I like a Dutch oven, into the oven. I think my kids get to see the process happen like in real time, and I love that. So this is coming up to a simmer. Get our oven ready. Drop this into the oven. I think people get intimidated by braises. How long they take, and you see that was real time. Like it's about what happens in the pot after you get into the oven, or when you're low and slow simmering it on the stove. So, it's about accumulating the ingredients, giving them a rough chop. But as soon as they get into a pot, you're halfway home. So our short ribs have been in the oven for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. They are nice and tender. Let's pull them out. Oh boy. Exactly, what we're looking for. These carrots are nice and tender, so let's fish these out. These, remember, are going to be on the bottom of our plate. These are our mashed, or these are our mashed root vegetables. Like, you can do potatoes. I fell in love with carrots cooked this way. In restaurants, you make veal stock, and you're putting in carrots this big into a vat of beef broth for anywhere between 18 to 24 hours. To me, the best part of that, obviously you're looking for the beef stock and the beef broth, but the carrots were so delicious, so tender. They soaked up all the juice from the beef and the red wine, that I thought to myself, why not make a dish that's just to accompany that's just these carrots. So we're gonna get this on the stove again. We want to reduce some of this liquid that's in here, because it's gonna be the sauce for our short ribs. But we're gonna bring it over here. We're gonna smash our carrots. You know, what's great is that sometimes you get a piece of onion, sometimes you get a little bit of thyme, some garlic into this, and it all just, you know, works itself into this beautiful carrot mash. We're gonna get a little bit of salt, re-season this up, some pepper. You know, if it's looking a little dry, what you can do is you can come back here, get some of this beautiful jus, and skim some of this beautiful fat that's on top here. So instead of like adding butter, what we're doing is we're putting the flavors of this short rib right back into these carrots. It's gonna make these carrots feel really luxurious with that beef fat that's tinted with this tomato paste and you know, infused with garlic and thyme and red wine and some of that coffee and honey. So there you go. Let's give this a taste. See if it's where we want it. That is amazing. I love the rusticity of it. We're gonna get some on the plate right there. We're reducing the jus on our red wine coffee short ribs. So if they're not exactly like, if the liquid isn't exactly where you want it, you know, just drop it down a little bit. You're looking for this to be, you know, spoonable over the short rib, right? So you want to get some nice color out of this. So we're going to let the braising liquid on our red wine coffee short ribs reduce, and we're going to finish off our garnish for our short ribs, which are pomegranate seeds that are dressed with, I know it's like this super hot ingredient right now. Everyone's talking about chili crisp, right? So it's basically chilies, some spices like Szechuan peppercorns, cinnamon, clove sometimes, that are set in an oil, right? So it's garlic and ginger and shallots sometimes, but I love this. It's gonna help brighten up. You know, you've spent a lot of time to reduce and cook all of these beautiful fall flavors down. You want something to help pick it back up. So adding a little bit of acidity and some sweetness with the pomegranate, and then dressing them with this chili crisp, I think is gonna be a perfect accoutrement to our braised short ribs. So we're gonna go in there with some of this chili crisp. And if you don't love heat and you don't love spice, you know, pomegranate seeds just with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper are fantastic to help kind of brighten up our short ribs. Give it a taste. Beautifully spicy. So our short ribs I have beautifully braised down. They are super nice and tender. So let's plate our dish. Nice piece of short rib there. Some of that jus. Put a nice amount of our pomegranate chili crisp right over the top. And if that doesn't say fall to you, I don't know what does. And that is our dish. Red wine coffee braised short ribs with smashed carrots and pomegranate chili crisp. Guys, enjoy.